Hey! Hey there! Today I'm going to show you guys my updated Battle Concert Luna build. Now, if you saw my Manus build, you guys probably saw this coming. But I have to warn you guys that this build might not be for everyone, and I will tell you the reason why in a bit. But in my Manus video, when I was testing how Manus would work with Luna, I discovered that the bonus damage from the swords can crit, while the snipers cannot. So I did a little bit of testing, and I am quite fascinated with what I found. This video is going to be just about the Battlefield Concert build, because nothing changed for the Noise Surge and supporting build except use Gap in Time for Noise Surge and Rhythmic Step for the supporting build. First, before we start, I have to mention this to you guys. This was actually linked to me in my Discord channel, and this came from a Reddit post regarding launchers and beam rifles for Luna. And it's thanks to that person who posted this. I already mentioned this in the pinned comments in my previous Luna videos, but it's worth mentioning it again. Beam rifles and launchers drop-off range is calculated weirdly because Luna's Battle Concert doesn't recognize the effective range for the weapons. This makes sense because beam rifles drop-off range is nothing. It deals the same damage regardless of range, and launchers drop-off range is based from the explosion radius. Even though the theory that Exterminator has the highest base raw attack is correct, you are actually just dealing 50% of its damage because of this. With that, going atoms for fire, toxic, electric, and piercing light for chill was the generally accepted approach. Now with swords, Manus specifically actually deals more damage than all of these weapons. This is the case because despite the fact that the bonus damage when using melee weapon crits, it also deals affinity damage and weak point damage when you're in Battle Concert. The weak point damage here actually comes from the hidden weak point damage bonuses against enemies. To demonstrate, I don't even need to swap elements in my Manus because Manus on Chill is already outperforming a Toxic Atoms against a level 260 Legion of Immortality, which is weak to Toxic, even against Piercing Light on the same enemy. Same goes as if you compare your damage against Legion of Darkness. And for sure, probably the same against Legion of Truth. And you will deal more damage when you swap your elements strong against the enemy. Against bosses though, the damage difference is going to be very close. One of the main reasons why is because snipers can make use of the extra bonus attack for affinity, and in some cases, using the snipers might pull through just a tiny bit than using Manus. But Manus has a very good advantage though, because you don't even need to hit the weak point in order to deal consistent damage. And in majority of the fast bosses against Executioner, Deathstalker, Dead Bride models, Stormhanger, hitting the weak point is extremely difficult. A weak point built weapon will lose its value if your weak point hit rate is low. You are only going to rely consistently on Manus' critical hit rate. Hitting the weak point is just a cherry on top. This also applies when you are mobbing. Trying to hit the weak points of mobs when you are swarmed is unrealistic. This also allows you to just chill a bit and not worry too much about hitting a weak point on trash mobs. Again, not to mention that you are already dealing a lot more damage than a weak point hit. Manus also has a disadvantage, because in the build leader, there are 2 free module slots. Right now, there are not enough modules to increase its damage as a stat stick. Even so, as shown earlier, it still is dealing more damage than the snipers. But for sure in the future, there will be more melee modules to come that can further increase the gap of damage compared to using a sniper. In short, there is still room for improvement. The only thing that's a downside right now is that attack speed from sword does not affect Battle Concert's fire rate. And this is the part where people might not like using Manus. But remember that your fire rate is fixed to 666 when you are in enhanced mode. That is where you receive the massive net positive on DPS. Without enhanced mode, you will actually deal lesser DPS, but just by a tiny amount until you get to the enhanced mode. The ramp up for both fire rates are RNG based though, because you are filling the gauge by just firing and when hitting an enemy. And as you can see here, the lesser fire rate was able to fill the gauge faster than with the fire rate module, which means that the RNG for this makes it inconsistent regardless. You also have to remember that this is calculated at the 100% weak point hit rate in mobbing, which is very unrealistic. so the damage comparison for items here is overstated. Another thing that could have been an advantage when using Manus was that this weapon has a higher base movement speed than any of the two snipers, but Luna's movement speed is quite weird. Because regardless of how much your base movement speed is, you'll always end up at 1120 movement speed. This is the first time I've encountered a different calculation for a movement speed, and I'm not about to figure that out because why even at that point? This is the Luna build. Again, nothing really changed. Potent Collector works extremely well with her, and it always gets me to enhanced mode right away after fever time duration has finished. But you can replace it with an HP module if you need survivability, and MP Collector if you need more mana. As for the Manus sword, it's just simply this. Like Firearm, Course doesn't work, and bonus attack to element is better than the faction bonus damage. We have 2 free slots here, and that's mainly because there is no other modules that increases our damage even more. But even in this unfinished state, Manus is dealing more damage than snipers as a stat stick, so this will only become even better when more melee weapon modules gets released. Veil Analyzer and Manus' unique ability does not work, so you don't even need to level this weapon to 5 for Luna. For Arcade Tuning, Non-Attribute Cohesion for mobbing, Arcade Chain Catalyst for bossing, and Void Erosion. For the bossing build, this is the general one that works against the bosses right now but can be tweaked if you're going against specific bosses like the Lava Citadel. Again, for my Noise Surge and supporting build, nothing changed from this video, and I recommend watching it because there are other helpful information specific to the build. Just remember to use Gap in Time for Noise Surge and Rhythmic Step for supporting. If you don't want to use the Manus, feel free to stick with the snipers. That's it for the video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!